What up, what up, what up? This is your boy Joe Chapo back in the building. Another edition of If They Only Knew. As always, we got your boy Main Light in the light out on the hill, light in the Bronx, light all over you.
What's good? What's good, y'all? I appreciate my odd topic for tuning in, man. You know what I mean? Make sure you like and you subscribe and you share.
Put out the alerts.
Yes, yes.
All right. Well, today we got a special guest. Uh, looks like you're on mute.
Yeah, I just unmute. Just make sure you don't get a lot of feedback, background noise.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. If you could introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and where you're from and how you came up.
Okay, so my name is Bridget Simpson. I just go by Bree. I was born in Jamaica, came to the Bronx when I was like maybe 5 years old. Came off the plane, seen snow for the first time. And 241st White Plains Road, that's where we came off the plane and got to, that's whole Jamaican town right there. Uncle had a shop on Gun Hill Road, a Jamaican store, just down on Delancey, just everything. So we just literally, my mom, she moves from the Bronx, went to Yonkers, and then from Yonkers to New Jersey, and then went to college, high school, New Jersey. Like I went home to Jamaica, went to some school, came back, then finished high school, then all of the above. But just landed me in Atlanta, and Atlanta landed me in prison. So that's my story in a nutshell. I guess I've been working on summarizing it. So that's it.
Let's kind of back up a little bit. So what was life like in Jamaica?
Jamaica is pretty and it's ugly. Like life is, pretty by the beach, and then when you leave the beach, it's ugly. It's a lot of struggle, a lot of poverty. I don't really like to relate to anything as third world, but it's a very poor place. With tourism definitely keeps my country alive. So yeah. That's Jamaica. It's a lot of poverty, a lot of young people having to get in the streets to try to survive. It's places like Shantytown that have no running water. So it's just like, it's pretty when you go to the resort and you could smoke some good stuff and get on a boat, and then you think about it, those people don't get on the boat. They have to go back in town, and they, a lot of them live in some subpar conditions. So yeah, that's Jamaica.
So what was it like coming from Jamaica to the Bronx?
I mean, I guess I didn't know the difference. I was a kid. I just went where my mom went. Like she had already came up to America and she sent for me. So that's just kind of how it worked. I didn't know the difference. I just went where she went.
A tropical, paradise to the concrete jungle.
I mean, it was just a concrete paradise. It was the jungle nonetheless. So I mean, I was born in the jungle, came from the jungle, went to more jungle. So it's just, yeah. Like coming here, I just remember being really in awe of snow. I was like, what the hell? What the heck? Like I just remember like going on a hill. It was like in Yonkers. It's like right where Heavy D, it's like a building, and it say Money Earned in Mount Vernon. Right there, like there was like a little hill and it was snowing, and we all got in whatever we made a sled with, and we slid down. I don't know what the sled was, but it was next to a laundromat, and we made it a hill. So yeah.
Yep. I miss that. See, I'm out I'm in Atlanta now as well, and I miss New York. I miss the winters. I miss the snow. I miss all of that. I don't know. I mean, down there, inch of snow shuts the whole city down. They
Yeah.
had no idea what we had to do. We had to go to work in snowstorms. There was no cooling off or anything like that. No.
I had to go to school. I remember one time, like, I was at Rutgers. There was a whole blizzard. Like, we literally was crawling out of class. So it's like an inch. Okay. Like, that's enough to get your shoes wet.
Yeah.
But try when you had to wear a snowsuit. Like, so.
I remember those were the days. But Okay, so you end up in Atlanta. What brought you out to Atlanta?
Just I just was going through a lot, like in New Jersey, like in just going through a lot and really wanting a different change. And I went to visit a few places, and Atlanta was supposed to be like the Black Mecca. It was supposed to be the place where Black people, could really get to their goals, their bags. And you just on television, you see all the big houses, you see Black people, you see them in it, you know. So again, like Atlanta is beautiful, but it's ugly. So it's definitely one of those places. I wish everything that you do could come with a warning sign, like warning.
Facts.
Warning, systemic racism is real. It's still the South. They don't really fuck with Black people. Wish they would have said that, but they didn't say that. Yeah, they said, oh, come on, so we can hang your ass. That's really what it was. So
Definitely up and down here. One minute you get the hellos everywhere you go, and then you get the looks in other parts. So yeah,
yeah,
definitely feel you on that.
you get the looks and the pullovers and
Oh yeah.
the repetitive cycle of like incarceration. Like you get shackled, you get all of the things here in the South.
So
Atlanta is the South. Yeah.
so how long were you in Atlanta before you were
Um,
incarcerated?
well, I was in Atlanta for approximately a year. I was in a when it was time for me to leave New Jersey, like I had gotten into a relationship, somebody, as a woman, like especially going through some of the things that I went through really a lot of awkward things, a lot of just a lot of deep things that we're not going to dive into right now. But just listening to somebody tell you what you want to hear and all of the things, like that's something that I would tell your daughters. Make sure that you are telling your daughter what they need to hear. So the next person doesn't tell her, and manipulate and do all those different things. But that's really what happened to me. Like I graduated from Rutgers. I was up at the top of my class. Like but I really was going through a lot and I really needed a change. And he kind of attached himself to my vision. When I met he was dope. He was like an executive chef. I like to eat. He liked to cook. It just was like match made in heaven, right? Like for me. But then it was like, then it will stop cooking. Like then the phone start ringing at odd time, and then it was this, and then it was that. Then he hit me, and then it was next thing you know, flash forward, I was locked in the trunk, and it just was a lot. So I was here for like a year, and then I ended up going back to Jersey. Like I went back home. So yeah, but I went back home, I was with my brother. I'll never forget, we were driving, we was in Roselle Park, New Jersey, and we were like driving down the main street, and he was like, yeah, I want McDonald's. No, 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 I want Wendy's. So I was about to go to McDonald's, but he wanted Wendy's. So I went to Wendy's. And yeah, like when I went to Wendy's, the officer pulled behind me and she said, oh, I was trying to avoid the light. I was like, no, like he wanted something to eat. He wanted McDonald's and changed his mind and wanted Wendy's. So, and that's how I discovered that I have been wanted in Georgia for a hell of a lot of things, like quite a few things. Like so, I just kind of I was kind of going through it with my ex. He like pulled a gun. He would, I didn't know like growing up, I never really been around anybody that was like getting high, right? Like, so I didn't know, like he was on heroin. I didn't know until like later on. So he'll be nodding off. I'm like, honey, are you all right? Like tired? No, he was high. He was nodding off because he was high, and these are some things that I did not know, like, yeah. So if I had to, do things over, of course, I would have known a lot more than I did, but I didn't. So I just always made the vow to myself that I make sure that my children know, like, what to look out for, what not to look out for, and even though he calls me a lot of my life, he gave me a promise. He was like, yeah, you don't want to be with me? You're either going to be dead or you're going to be in prison. And he kept true. I went to prison. I'm glad I'm not dead, but when I look back, I just always think like I would just make sure that my children like are well informed. I remember calling my uncle and I'm like, hey, he hit me upside my head. Can you help me? And this man told me sometime a man needs to discipline his woman. And, we come from a Jamaican background, and it's patriarchy, like men this, men that. And he told me that. And he could have saved me that day. Cause I'm like, can I come over to your house? And he's like, no, no. I'm like, please. And he said no. So I just think about all of that when I think about where it got me and where it landed me, like, and yeah, I just want to make sure that my kids are like well informed. Like me trying to sugarcoat, like I don't have space for the sugarcoating. Sugarcoating is not gonna save my kid.
Exactly. Yeah, I try to be as honest with my daughter as possible, and especially, we came from growing up, street smarts as well as, book smarts. These kids nowadays, they're more book smart, online smart than street smart. So I have to kind of bring what I have and put it on her and kind of hope that it works out. But can so she pulls behind you, pulls you over, tells you you have charges in Atlanta. What I mean,
No.
I'm sure you was like, what the hell? So did they extradite you back to Atlanta or?
Yeah, they extradited me back to Atlanta. They pulled me over. Like, it's a couple things I'm skipping, like because I was running from him. You know what I mean? I was living under an alias. You feel me? Like, I was living under L. So when they pulled me over, like everybody in the car was like, well, what's her name? Brenda? Everybody lined up with what it was, like I didn't I didn't grow up without street smarts. I just grew up without with like really like low self-esteem. Like I grew up with um like I wasn't exposed to like people who use drugs. I was exposed to people who smoke weed. I know what it looked like when a person is stoned because day and night, that's what my folks do, from Jamaica. But I've never really been exposed to a person that was like on cocaine or heroin or any of those things. So like I wasn't able to recognize some of those signs. You feel me? But still, like I just remember my little brothers being in the car, and the officer's like, "What's her name, Brenda?" Like everybody stuck to the script, and so they didn't know who I was, and they had to like take me there. They fingerprinted me, and then that's when I knew. Yeah, but
So originally they were just pulling you over just for the light, and then they took you in because they couldn't identify you.
yeah, they couldn't identify me.
And
But
they
the thing was, yeah, so my ex, he knew some people. So like when I was like deep cover, I was, so he knew some people. So yeah, so but everybody, like I said, everybody was with the G code and everybody knew like that what my name was it, and that's just how it worked out. And once I found out, like I was like really devastated. I'm like, no, I'm not, I can't go to jail. Like, what do you mean? Like I didn't do this. This is what I did do. Like I didn't do this though. Like hell, like I've done things in my life. I didn't do that, but I have done things in my life. I haven't, walked the straight and narrow. You get what I'm saying? Like I can't say that. I wouldn't sit here and tell anybody that. You know what I mean? But I didn't do that. You know, and
charges on you?
yeah. So like so when I actually got sentenced, I was out on bond. I was like on an ankle monitor. Like my attorney, that's a long story too, but anyway, long story short story, they was trying to fight for me to get a life sentence. That didn't work out. They was trying to make me just stay in jail and not see the light of day again. I ended up getting an attorney, getting out. I was out on bond for about 4 years, and that's how I met my ex-husband. And that's how I met him, which is completely different from, the person that I got banged up with or for. And yeah, so like I was out on bond, I was on the ankle monitor. And at this point, I didn't know what was going to go on with my life, right? So it was just like weird. So I was had on this ankle monitor. If I felt like I was going to go to the club, I went with the ankle monitor on. Like I just did what I had to do. I didn't know what was going to happen, right? Like so, if you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, if you're like, it's kind of like having a death sentence hanging over your head. Like if somebody tells you got a year to live, you're gonna live that year. You're gonna do whatever you want to do. you are going to be fearless. You're not going to think about anything or anything that you might be scared of or ramifications. I remember being at Six Flags. I had my little Gucci scarf tied on my ankle bracelet. And the little kids was like, "Is that an ankle bracelet?" I said, "Yeah, I'm a thug. Get out of here." Like, it was serious. But I had came to the point where I just had to live my life. Like I couldn't not live my life, so I did. And yeah, so I like met my ex-husband. Like he knew, when I met him, I had an ankle monitor on, and it was all good. And then it came to sentencing day, right? It came to sentencing day, and well, flash forward, I had a really amazing judge, right? Like, I don't like the system, like, kick the system. But there you do get some people in between, right? Like, and my judge in between was good. God bless his soul. He ended up with cancer and he had to check out. He had to get off the bench. And I had been on an ankle monitor for 4 years and I went in my routine trial. He took the ankle monitor off, not my trial, my routine court, appearances. He took my ankle monitor off after a year and a half. Um, he just was trying to make sure I did not go to prison. I didn't think I was going to prison after a while. Then he got sick. And then just like that, we had to do a whole trial. It was Monday. She said by Wednesday, you got to be ready for trial or take a plea. She had to get everybody off of his court docket. And my attorney didn't even have everything together. It was me. Like we both had the same. My lawyer, Dennis Shide. I want to say some choice words about that, Nick, but I'm not gonna do that, right? I'm not gonna do that. I want to say some things, but I'm gonna just let them live. We both had Gucci Man and I. We both had the same attorney, and we knew Gucci what happened. Like when I seen him and Jeezy on that thing, like it hit different for me because I didn't do my crime. You know what I mean? And guess what? Like I'm for people getting off. Like I'm for the underdogs all day long. But it felt so bad that I was the person that was the sacrificial lamb. Like I was the one that took them 10 years. Like I took so that he could be free. Like I wasn't all right with that.
Yeah.
I wasn't all right with that, especially I'll be and I'll be, inside and he's getting locked up back and forth. I was hella mad. Like a woman's biological system is very different from a man. So he could come out and he could do whatever he want to do. He got kids, all these type of things. Our bodies is not built the same way. You know what I mean? So my losses are counted differently than his. And yes, like just because he has bread or whatever, it doesn't even really mean anything. But I won't even dive off into that.
That's
I'll
they,
let that be.
they
I did my 10 years. Hmm?
ultimately the law allows them to be untouchable.
Yeah, like so it's funny because those when I got sentenced to the 10 years, it was just like the worst day that of my life, literally. Like, my ex-husband had prepped me. He was like, "You got to take this. You got to take this plea deal." He had a dream that I was going to get the life sentence. He's like, "Please do this for the fam. Your attorney said you'll only be locked up for a year." I'm like, "All right, I think I could do a year. I think I could do a year." And after a year, it was like a year and some change. They sent me a letter and told me I had to do 10 to the door. I tried to jump off the scaffold. I was like,
So
I ain't signed up for all this. Like, I can't
the
do that.
sentence was 1 to 10.
Oh no. See, my sentence was 10. But what it was is that how my attorney manipulated me, he told me that because I've never been in trouble, that I would only do a percentage of my sentence. I would only do 1 year, maybe 2 years tops, because I'd never been in trouble. Like, it's like, oh, you started, this, they can see you're an upstanding citizen. Lies. Those people told me I had to do 10 to the door. Armed robbery was a mandatory minimum sentence, and I had to do it day for day. And I had to do it day for day. I didn't miss a day. I had to do every single day. I did not get out until my sentence had completed. Period. So, like, he manipulated me and he manipulated my ex-husband. So, while I was inside, it was kind of like, it was all good. My ex was riding with me. like at first. And then it was like, oh, from every week to every other week. And then it was like, whoa, where is he? And then it went to me calling, getting a voicemail is full of nothing but broads. And then it went to like, he literally, one day I called and this girl answered the phone, was like, hey, I'm Kiki. And I was like, who are you? She's like, I'm Ryan's girlfriend. I'm like, oh, okay. She's like, well, who are you? I'm like, hey, I'm his wife, and then she's like apologizing. Oh, I'm sorry, we would have to meet under these terms. I'm like, girl, I'm doing 10 years in prison. How else would you have been with my husband? You know what I mean? Like, so it was crazy. He stopped showing up. He had a whole outside situation with her. I didn't even know he had a kid with her. Like before I went to prison, I had a whole conversation with him. I told him, listen, I know, I know you're gonna get your thing wet. Listen, I'm not an idiot. You're a young man, you're attractive. I'm gonna be in prison. But like to me, loyalty is more important than love. Like for me,
Yeah,
I don't know about anybody else, but I'm a Scorpio. It's more important to me. Like loyalty, if I had to choose between the two, I'll take loyalty versus love,
that's
right?
what.
But he didn't do that. Like I'm in prison and like I'm over here and I'm like, you know, like I ain't have everything that I need. I had to like literally hustle. I was like the candy lady, the cupcake lady in there. I wasn't all right. You get what I'm saying? Like I had to figure it out. I started 2 for 1 in. I did all of the things. Like I'm a shark. You put me in any water, I'm gonna swim and I'm gonna figure out ways to dominate it. Period.
So
Right?
hold on, let's take a little step back. So what was it like day one walking in there? Just the feeling that came over you and the reality of the situation once you pulled in to the prison and started that bit.
Also, the reality didn't hit me because I only had to do a year.
So you
So my
came.
my sentence didn't start until I got that paper. So my sentence didn't start. See, I was underneath the false pretense that I was only going to do a year. So, like, of course, like, oh, I'm good. Like I'm about to go home to my life. I'm going back to this. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to go back, get my chips. Like, I'm good. You know what I mean? I remember like paying everybody's rent before I went to prison. I just remember like coming through with just everything. Just was just young and flashy and stupid. And I'm just like, oh, I'm about to go back to my life. They're like, oh, we crushed this up and put it in soups. I was like, oh no, I'm not about to eat that, girl. I'm about to go home. Oh no, I'm not about. I'm not about to eat that. Put what? We gonna put chips in a soup? Yeah. No, I'm not about to do that.
Yeah.
We're about to put what in a potato chip bag? No, we're not about to do that. Oh no. So I was eating like naked soups and chips and like, because I'm like, oh, I'm about to go home. No, I wasn't. So it's funny that by the time, like by the time I left, like I was like skilled, like in cooking it up, like salmon patties, you name it. Like people was paying me. That's how skilled I got from when I was walking in the gate. Like, oh no, I'm not. No. Oh no, 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 no. Like we don't have to do all of that. We're not going through all of that because I'm about to go. I'm about to go. I'm about to go. So when I got the paper that said, "Oh no, girl, you're not going nowhere," like I tried to jump off the scaffold, like I literally. And then the officer was like, "You dummy! Like you don't have life. You got literally because it did. I couldn't even get over the scaffold. I just got stuck in the sheet. Right? Like, it's crazy. All my failed suicide attempts." And the officer was like, "You big dummy." I'm like, "Girl, like I was supposed to be going home tomorrow. This is the 12th month. Like
And so right at the like almost the year mark is when you got the letter.
no, I got it a little bit after. Like it was literally like after. So it was like I served the time
Yeah.
and
D-Day
You
now.
was sick. I know you was sick.
yeah, I was sick. And then I didn't file the paperwork that I needed to file because I was about to go home.
Hmm.
I'm not about to, but I was trying to get him to file a sentence modification because I didn't want that on my thing because that's not what I did. Now they said, credit card. Yeah, I used a credit card. Yes, he was outside in the parking lot and he had a tool. It was either I used it or he was going to bash my skull in. So I did what he asked me to do. You know what I mean? He hit me in my face with a Louisville slugger bat, drugged me by my hair, put me in the trunk. Yeah, I did what didn't he? Whatever he asked, yes. Uh-huh. Swipe, swipe, swipe. Okay, sure. Yeah. So it was like that. So the credit card, like I could say, yeah, yeah, I did that. You know what I mean? Like, but like for them to be like, oh, no, no, I didn't. I did not. And it was crazy because all of the witnesses identified that it was male. Like, listen, it don't matter what your type is. It don't matter if you find me attractive or not. I'm a girl. You could, I mean, you know, you couldn't mistake me for a dude. You know what I mean? So it's like they told, and it still didn't matter because once again, this was the Black Mecca, right? The thing is that they don't tell about the Black Mecca is that it's the Black Mecca for mass incarceration. Georgia per capita has more Black and brown people incarcerated than anywhere else. We're leading in the entire country, and America is leading in the world, which means that Georgia is leading in the world in people per capita who are incarcerated. So yeah, I didn't. My
What county
first,
did you get caught up in?
Fulton.
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 So you went to
Yes.
Rice.
Yeah, I went to Rice Street. I was in Rice Street and it was crazy. Paul Howard. I remember like Paul Howard, Reba Collier, like they knew I didn't do it. They knew I didn't. They knew I didn't because they were trying to raise up in the ranks. They didn't care. Do you
Yeah.
know how many Black and brown people's blood they drank in order to maintain their vampire reign? Paul Howard was in that office for a very long time. And I could say with a straight face and with a big heart that I made sure his ass got out that chair. The worst thing they could have did was not let me out in that year. Because when I did get out, that's when I started freedom fighting. And that's the worst thing that could have happened. I started working for organization Women on the Rise, and I actually realized that I had some power. And like I remember on my first day, she was like, "Oh, you're gonna have to share your story." I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm gonna have to get another job. Like, I'm not all right with that." You know what I mean? But it's very freeing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to hide behind a corner. I don't have to get an alias. I don't have to go get nobody CPN. I don't have to do any of that. It's just okay to be me. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay. I can just speak. I can speak my piece. It's just okay to be me. And I'm all right with that.
Definitely, definitely. So, what's life like today for you after
Well,
10 years? Was it easy to adjust? Was it a big shocker coming out after the 10 years?
it was a big shocker. I was freaked out in Walmart. Like I think a lot of people had that with all the motion, just all the movement, all the motion, everybody going every which way, and you had control movement for a whole decade. And even like when I went to the halfway house, it was still control movement. I worked in a chicken plant. So like when one of those bozos wasn't trying to stick you know, they things where they didn't belong, then like it still was control movements. And the other employees were still trying to act like officers, you know what I mean? So it was like still control movement. So when I went to Walmart, it was literally like, okay, like, I literally felt like I had vertigo. But I think the biggest challenge for me was like is like the technological challenges, like also like dating because it's like very different. Like people are built differently right now. Like it's a whole lot of extraness going on right now. So it's just like it's crazy. Like I could tell
Blame it.
y'all some
You
of the
blame
dates that I've been on, and I could tell you some of the things that I've heard. Like somebody asked me to drink my breast milk. I was like, Dad, like it's just different. Like everything is set up differently. So like computers and like I'm getting better with the computers. Like I don't know every single thing, but I'm definitely getting better with it. And that's very difficult because before prison I was very skilled and proficient in all of the things. So that when you've been away for a decade and everything looks differently, it's like little 3-year-olds are like, oh, okay, all right,
it.
and here you are, a grown ass woman. You're like, huh? Like, okay. And people don't understand that. And they have certain expectations for you. And they don't understand the gaps that exist when you've been away for that great, length of time. See, people who have been in and out of prison, it's a little different for them because they still get to catch up with the technology while they're in and out. But when you're gone, for you're like stuck in a time capsule, like for a certain amount of time. So it's just like
Yeah.
you're in a time capsule. So it's certain things that you don't know. It's certain, just everything is like different. So just trying to adjust and trying to just play catch up is hasn't been that easy, but I do it. I do it and I make sure that it gets done. That means I have to work extra hard to do it so I could make up my gaps. But I do notice that like nobody has any type of sympathy for my gaps. So that's why I don't really have no sympathy for nobody. Like just keeping it real. Like they
Yeah.
don't have sympathy for my gap. When I came home, like I had to pay rent, everything, like first day. Like it was just crazy. Nobody would answer the phone for me. Like, I ended up having to live in my car for a little while, like until I closed on my house because nobody would rock with me for real. It turned out it was like my best friend, my roommate, like was the one that actually signed money off her books and sent it home to me for me to pay my down payment because like I was trying to save up money where I was staying and they stole it. They stole it and it was fam. So I had to like get out and I was like, okay, if I don't do this, if I don't like sleep here in this car, like then that means that I'm not going to be able to get anywhere or do anything. So it's certain things that haven't changed. Is how I count money and how I get to money, how I get to my bag. Like that's no difference. It's the same. But like this Instagram stuff,
We just got on this Instagram. That's a whole world, like
yeah,
hashtags and all this craziness, and
yeah.
yeah,
Like
no-
this virtual, it's like people are living virtually. So I'm really not used to that. Like
yeah,
truthfully, I'm not used to it, and it feels like a part of me that's like heavily resisting it because I feel like if we spending all this time in space, like when are we spending time
this is the
like
new
on
world.
Earth?
Man. This is the new world. Is
Mm,
everything is online before you even meet. Before you
yeah.
even meet a person, all your business is online. You order your clothes, your food, everything is online.
Everything is online. Everything is virtual. So it's like nothing is really real or it's not tangible. And I think that's why I love doing the work that I do. And it was very difficult with COVID, not being able to really organize with people like in person and, touching people and actually, doing whatever. And I remember when, George Floyd, like initially everything happened with him and everything happened with Rayshard Brooks and Brianna. And we were like out in the streets and like people didn't even really care about COVID. Like we were masked up and everything, but our passion was that much more than COVID. And I just like and after that it just kind of died down.
Yeah,
It died down. There's still some here and there, but it's just like interaction is like slim to none. You know what I mean? It's like slim to none, and that's been really difficult for me. Like this virtual reality that we're living in is very different for me.
yeah.
Very different. It hits totally different for me.
Well,
So
let me ask you this, because quite a few people that's come on the show,
Yes.
as well as our co-host Maine, has expressed the fact that they've gained a form of PTSD from being locked up. Do you think that's you're affected, or do you think
yes,
that's
no, I definitely think that I am affected. Even like I'm scared of backing up. I am petrified of reversing because like whenever we got on them vans, it was just like a certain way that they were, and I would just be like, damn, they don't care about us. Like, just just the way I was petrified of driving, and just being around certain amount of people, too many people, like I'm always like, okay, like I want to, date a square guy, somebody that got has a clean name, and then I date them and then he's square and I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, I speak well, but I'm not square. Like I'm not. Like it's and it's like wanting to be around people that relate to you. I thought like when I was inside, I'm like, I can't wait to get away from you, bro. I can't wait. I'm not gonna be around nobody and this, and the third. But it's crazy because now the people that understand me, that get me, are the people who like have been through the struggle with me because you understand what true struggle is. And like I just think about like how like when I first came home and I applied for like 40 something jobs, and I wouldn't get them. You know what I mean? I wouldn't get anything because of my background. I wouldn't get any place to live because of my background. So it's a certain type of fear. It's like a certain type of shell shock. Like I feel like I was like at war. And when I came home, the world didn't feel the same. You know what I mean? Like I used to sleep with my door locked because I'm like, okay, you know, count time, like lock up, you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, it was just a lot of things that people don't want to talk about because nobody wants to admit that they're institutionalized, and that it's certain level of deep programming that you have to, do. Like literally, I still put Cheez-Its and chips in my soup, like just keeping it for real. I gotta, like I gotta be for real. I don't go make a whole pocket or anything, but still, it's still certain habits, that are there. And sometimes like if we go and we might go to a say like a Mexican restaurant and get like a quesadilla, I'm like, oh, I could hook that up on my flat iron. I
Yeah.
could put them to work on my flat iron, like, 'cause, oh, I could tear them up with this iron right here. Like you know what I mean? So it's still some of it in there. And I remember like the first guy that I tried to go out with, I was so nervous to tell him, that I was formerly incarcerated. I was so nervous. And, he was like a financial guy, did really well for himself. And, I guess the way that I present like, okay, I'm going to be a square, you
Yeah.
know, and it's a part of me that really would love to just like be that way, to just be all right and not have to like worry about the nooks and the crannies. But that's not me. That may have been who I was, but it's no longer me, right? So like I told him, I was like, hey, I'm an advocate. You might see me on television sharing my story. You might look up on CNN and see me with my fist in the air. You might see me in deep opposition, to the police, and but this is who I am.
What was
Yeah.
his reaction to that? Because
Oh,
everybody Googles everybody now, so it would have came out eventually. So it's
yeah,
good.
so he wondered because he was a partner in a firm, and he was like, "Well, what if one of my partners sees you?" And so he went from wanting to like be in like deep relationship to me to trying to smash. I'm not her,
Yeah.
so you know what I mean. Like so, yeah, so dating has really been different. Like, there's like once you like reveal, like for a dude, you guys get stripes for that. Like, oh, you locked up, oh, you got that jail body. Ooh, girls like, who I want me a thug. No, it's no man that play. Oh, I want a thug missus. No, they don't want that. You know what I mean? Like,
But see, as a dude, like I wouldn't even care. Like that's nothing.
that's
Like
that's you. That's you, right?
I
But
can't
I'm
even see
talking about
people like
I'm just
whoa.
talking
But I see a
talking about
square.
square. Yeah, I'm talking about, and if you look at it, like my mom, and they always told me somebody needs to be a square. Like somebody has to look good on paper, right?
Yeah.
Like two people can't be thugging it on paper. So I have like armed robbery charges. I remember trying to apply to Uber. They was like, "Is this you?" I'm like, "Yes, it's me." Lyft like, "No, you cannot come in my cab. You can't do anything." Yeah, like I got turned down like.
I have a friend with paying charges that drives. I think both of them.
No, they played me. They pulled me up. They said no, 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 no. And then I have a couple friends like who they went and looked up because now they have a new policy. They won't let you drive. You have any type of history. You think about it, like even what is the name of that place um, where people rent from? I can't
Uh,
think of it.
like the website, the apartment.coms and stuff.
No, not the apartment.com. Just like you get like little apartments, and you get like when you're going away on trips and stuff like that.
Oh, the
Can't think of their name. It's a
Yeah,
name
the A and B, whatever those are.
Airbnb. That's them. You can't
A&B.
even
I was
you
gonna
can't
say
even rent from them. You
you
can't you
can't rent.
cannot have any bookings with them. You cannot have an account with them.
What the
It's like some it's outward discrimination like for people who, we served our time. So then they always wonder like how, like why is recidivism high? Because you guys push us in a corner. There's no chances, there's no opportunity. So we have to create what it is that we know. So it's almost impossible to walk a line because it would take somebody that's just like has like super thick skin. Like you telling me like, I can't even stay in an Airbnb. I mean, they canceled my reservation. Like I was about to be out of town looking crazy. They canceled it
So you
because
have to give a authorization for them to run a background check on you in order to get a like
oh
that's
well, you don't give them the authorization. Like once you give them your ID, that's the authorization. Like once you give them your ID, they run your background, and they're saying because they had so many problems. So even though they didn't have any problems out of me, it doesn't matter. Like they're judging the background, for even for insurance, for a job, for all of the things, your credit gets run. So that's why the work that I'm a part of, the work that I do, that's why it's super important to me, and it's super essential for like anybody that's been in touch with the system, that's been impacted. That's why, I grind the way I grind. That's why, like if I'm missing sleep so that I can help my sister or my brother be free, that's why I do so, because it's really important. If we don't got us, who does? Like there's a couple people that slip through the cracks and they get to be okay. And you know what? I happen to be one of them. I'm doing okay. Like I'm not even gonna hold it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, no, I'm actually doing okay. And it's, most of it's because I'm a little business savvy, you know what I mean? And while I was incarcerated, I had a negative 633 credit score and I raised that guy up to eight something, you know what I mean? So, I'm pretty savvy on certain avenues, you know what I mean? Like I look in ways that I can improve because like I don't believe that you can have a revolution broke. I don't believe that. Like people talk about, capitalism, and I agree with what they're saying about capitalism, except for the part where we have to be broke. Like I was broke for 10 years. Like I was poor, I was desolate. I had to eat out of cans. I had to do whatever. Like there was times they wouldn't even give us enough girly products. We had to make our own, and then they gave us DRs for them. They put us in a hole behind it. When you had to live like a savage for a whole decade, like you mean to tell me that I'm gonna get out and I'm gonna still have to be scraping? Like I'm not trying to scrape. I'm not trying to scrape. So I'm gonna figure out ways that I can be resourceful and that I can grow. Period.
that's what's up. It sounds like you're definitely doing it. Uh, man, that's that's a crazy story.
Yes, it is.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Like,
it's fine though.
what do you think?
Unfortunately,
What do you think is the most creative thing you've seen in there?
in prison, like I guess some of the outfits that those girls made, like it just you can't even hold it. Like even like with me, like my uniform, like I was determined that I wasn't gonna let any of those women break me. Like, and I'm not talking about women like my peer, even though some of them were like, I wish I could say everybody was all kumbaya in there, but we know that's not the truth. But like I'm talking about the officers, like depending on what part of the world you're in prison, like I was in Alto, like in Alto, Georgia, and one of the officers called me a nigger bitch. You know what I mean? But I was like determined not to let anybody like break me. Every day I got up, I beat my face every single day. I sewed my uniform, made sure that it fit my figure, and I walked with my head high, like period. Because it didn't matter where I was, but I just seen where I was going. Because whenever they crack the gate, like, okay, I gotta wait to 10, but whenever they crack the gate, watch out, world. Like whenever they crack the gate. So that's just what I kept walking with. So I would just sashay through there and they'd be like, oh, you think you all that, da, 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 all of this other stuff. But I didn't care. You know what I mean? I didn't care. Like, so it was like, it was crazy because when my ex-husband divorced me, right, it was like my eighth year. And it was on my birthday that I got the divorce papers. So literally, it was like, I had to do it in front of the deputy warden of care and treatment, right? And it's probably because I'm not supposed to say her name because I cannot remember this lady name to save my life. But she used to always, oh, you bougie, oh, you this and this. So when I had to have the divorce in front of her, she told the whole compound about everything that he was saying. You get what I'm saying? She
Yeah,
said,
that's good.
yeah, yeah, yeah. She said everything. Miss Christian is her name, right? And it was crazy because her husband had just divorced her. So when she was saying what she was saying, I was like, dang, if I had, if I was free and we might not have the same conversation, but you free and he still don't want that coochie. So what's up? Like, so this is how I'm talking to her, like, cause she's out there like, like smearing me. So it was crazy because everybody that didn't appreciate the fact that my uniforms was creased, that like my stuff fit, I made sure that I took a little pride in my step, you know what I mean? And Lord knows, it's not that I had the longest hair in the planet, but I used to sling that thing around. I used to sling that thing around and I used to just take pride in who I was. And like I said it, because I didn't see anything that was around me. All I saw was where I was going.
Yeah.
All I saw was where I was going, like, and that was it. Like, I love to write. So like I wrote like 8 books and I just remember every time like I would write my books, like it would be different parts of my life that would be in my character. So while these folks was here, I was everywhere else. Like I was everywhere else. I was living as Queenie. That's one of my characters. I was living as Candy Cane. That's another one of my characters. I was living as, Parker. I was living, like I may not have been physically living, but I was mentally living. And I think that was the difference. I remember while being incarcerated, I got so many of those officers, that their degrees, I got, undergrad, masters, and they really thought they was using me, but really what it was that I was using them to keep my brain moving. You know what I mean? So it's like they were playing checkers and I was too busy figuring out my next move because I needed my mind to be sharp. I needed to make sure that my verbs and my nouns still agree. I needed to make sure that I could still compile a sentence. Because if I didn't, if I sat there and I thought about what was going on, oh, my husband left me. Oh my gosh, like I don't have, anything. If I sat and did that, right? Like if I sat and just thought about those things, then I would still probably be sitting there, right? Because I wouldn't have had a plan. And when I came out and it was hard and I had to live in a car and people wouldn't rock with me and and I came home and I was going through whatever I was going through with the doctor and reached out to my ex-husband only to find out that he not only had another baby, but then he put his penis in a cup and helped somebody else that couldn't have a baby. And like it was just so much. I just got his name tatted, covered up, right? I got a crown in place of his name. I just got it covered up. You know what I mean? Because if I did not have a plan, if I did not have a plan, I would still be sitting here crying instead of getting to what I got to get to. I would still be here, crumbled up instead of trying to help people that are like me, like get to the next level. And I cannot afford to be broken. I can't afford that. You know what I mean? So I just can't afford it. So I just had to have a plan, literally. So
So is there any projects, anything you're working on right now that you want to
well,
plug?
well, currently, like I said, I work for the organization Women on the Rise, and we are working on a project, Close the Jail (ATL), where we're actually closing the city of Atlanta jail, repurposing it into a wellness and freedom center, so that the folks that are most harmed by the system can actually get some help, could get some some services and instead of sentences, some care instead of cuffs, stuff like that. So like that's what we're working on. And later on in the summer in July, we're going to be working on an art activation. And so we're going to be, painting and doing all of the things that that just talk about what hope looks like after incarceration, what an alternate universe will look like if we weren't, we weren't human capital. Like this is no different than slavery.
Yeah.
We are human capital. We are what are making the people that trade the prison industries on the stock market, we are making them wealthy.
Yep.
So what can we do so that we are no longer human commodity? So yeah, so that is what I do. If folks want to, get at me, you can always find me, Women on the Rise GA.org, and come through if you want to plug in, you want to figure out ways that, you could come be a part of the movement. You don't have to just be a woman on the rise. You could be a fellow on the rise too. Just come on through, and we could just make it happen together.
Is there any social media you want to share? Any of that?
Um,
You want to
well,
get in
yeah,
contact with you?
Jamaican Boss Lady, that's me. Like if you get to Jamaican Boss Lady, you can get to the rest of them. I have another page, Broke Budget, because like I told you that this revolution cannot be won unless we got the funds to do it. Like you can't, when you gonna bring a broom to a gunfight, like if you can only afford brooms, we need arsenal, so I really firmly believe that, the next level of revolution is a financial revolution. So yeah, we need to stop being human capital and put ourselves in position to have a financial revolution. But we don't have to do it so outward, like where everybody rolling around in Bentleys, because you have to think about Black Wall Street. When people get threatened by what we can do, who we are, they aim for us. So just yeah. So, but you can get at me either which way. Jamaican Boss Lady is a surefire way to get at me.
Okay, cool. Man,
Yeah. Definitely. I want to shout out, make sure everybody like and subscribe, share the channel. This was a great story. It kind of hit home because I was locked up myself. And when you said about the part about the leathers being less and less and less, feel
Mhm.
you on that. You know what I mean? Like that like hit home, man, because to hear it from a woman's point of view is a little different. You always hear a man say, "Yeah, man, they stopped writing me." But when you hear it from a woman, it's totally different. So I appreciate that. But we like to end this off with like a quick message, so like if you had a viewer that was sitting here right now in this panel with us and they was going through any struggles or anything in life, like what would you tell them right now?
I would tell them to get a plan. That's the first thing, because that's the first thing that I did. Like that was the difference between success and failure for me. It was my plan. Like I know it's cliche, but if you don't plan, if you don't plan to win, you're planning to fail. So like you already know what's ahead of you. Life is not going to be easy for us, especially if you are a person that has been impacted by the criminal no justice system. Life is different for us. We have a permanent S on our chest. And it's not for like, people think it's a scarlet, but for me, it's my Superman, it's my Superwoman, right? So because I know what it is, I had to make a plan. So plan to win. And the way you can do that is plan. You write it down, write every single thing down, write how you can get the resources that you need. Because you can't be okay if you're not fed, if you don't have clothes. Figure out the resources that you need so you can get to the next step. And start off humble. Start off humble. And then once humility will get you through a lot of doors. So a plan with an attitude, a positive one, a one that's going to win. I'm not saying to be a sucker, right? Like I used to say that, when I go to church, I'm saved, not a sucker. That don't mean that everybody can walk over you. That's not what a positive attitude means. A positive attitude means that you know that you are important, that you are worth it, and you plan to take it to the bank. That's what it means. It means that you know that anywhere you go, that people should be blessed to have you there. So that's the first thing. Plan and have a positive attitude no matter what.
that's a great man. Well, again, we are honored to have you on.
Yes.
You sharing your story is definitely going to help multiple people out, plenty of people out, because there's a lot of people that was in the same situation, that's in the same situation, is going to be in the same situation. So at least your positive, you know, outlook and everything you're doing is definitely going to be helpful to them. We hope you'll come back and visit us
I will.
again.
You just send for me.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
sent
We
for me the
actually,
first time I came.
we actually put it together an open forum, actually touching on some of these subjects on the first of May. And
Just send for me. Just send a link.
the
Tell me when
information.
to come and I'm here.
Awesome, awesome. Well, keep doing what you're doing. Stay safe, and again, we appreciate you.
All right. Peace. Thank you all. Bye bye.
They only knew.
You only knew.